Hey everybody, it's Felicia here. Thank you so much for checking out video 2 in my vocal warm-up series, which I'm creating because I want to give you guys at least an outline, a basis for how to template your warm-ups and what kinds of things you should be thinking about when you warm up. Because, 99% maybe of your progress as a singer is going to happen on your own. And it's one of the things that I'm consistently striving to figure out as a teacher is how can I give you the best instructions so that you feel empowered to practice well on your own. So that's what this playlist on YouTube is designed to do. So I hope you'll check out the first video, which kind of introduces it, and this is the second video. And what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about the first piece of warming up, which is breath activation, which is making sure your engine of your singing car, which is your diaphragm, is working to full effect. And not only that, that you're applying that breath to your voice. Because a lot of us can be like, okay, I'm breathing, and then you go to sing and suddenly the breath feels cut off. So here are a couple ways to make sure that you can make sure your breath is activated. So quick side note, I'm Felicia, you can call me Fel. I have a channel where I teach some singing tips and stuff. Please check it out if you want. I'm a professional voice finder. I help people find their voices, and let's lull together. Okay, if you're not familiar with your diaphragm, I would definitely recommend you check out my other video on breathing for singing. I don't want to really get into it here, but I want to stress a couple things. The first is that when you breathe to sing, at first it's going to feel weird and like it's too much. So many times people think that they're breathing in, but really they're tensing. So the first step is really getting comfortable with the sensation of taking a 360-degree inhale. And again, check out my other video on breathing if you're unfamiliar with that. The second piece I want you guys to think about is maintaining good posture. A lot of times when we exhale while singing, some singers will clench or clamp or collapse. And particularly they will collapse at their solar plexus, which is right here, kind of in the middle of your rib cage. And we'll kind of dig in like that. I want you instead to, even as you exhale, remain elevated. So you can apply the breath and not cut it off. And the final thing that I've been kind of experimenting with as a cue, and we're going to kind of practice right now, is I want you guys to take an inhale. And then as you exhale, I want you to imagine that there's an elevator going from the bottom of your rib cage to your butt, okay, as you exhale. So even though as we sing, our breath is actually coming up, it's actually really weirdly helpful as a mental cue to consciously think about your breath as an inhale here, and then going down, going down, going down, going down into your butt. And sometimes I'll even have singers squeeze their butt, because when you squeeze your butt, you actually activate your pelvic floor. So those are the two things I want to add that I don't actually mention in my original video on breathing, which is not collapsing here and thinking about it going down. And a lot of times when I teach, if a singer is singing, I'll give them this cue as they're singing. And they'll help them kind of keep that breath coming. So that's a couple mental cues that might help you. So when you're going to warm up, start with the breath. And don't forget about the breath. You might think one day, oh, I'm fine, I'm using my breath. But a lot of times when we're doing something new, when we're finding that we're confused about a sensation up here, we stop thinking about it and we think about singing as coming from the neck up. So I advocate every time you sit down to sing, think about your breath. So the first thing I want you to do is a very simple hiss. And each time you practice the hiss, I want you to time yourself. And I want you to try to get to like 45 seconds. Okay? And the simple hiss is just that you inhale, right? You take a nice inhale, feel that 360-degree expansion. Don't collapse right here. And then imagine the elevator shaft on the hiss. So keep going, keep going, keep going. You can keep going, whatever. I don't want to waste like time on this, but basically, see how I was moving super slow? What you are basically working on when you do a hiss exercise is not just a nice deep inhale that expands, but it's also control. So many singers leak air or give away too much air at the beginning of a line that when you work purely on breath, you're training your muscle to be very controlled. So rather than inhale, you're keeping it nice, and basically there's like a bottle stopper where you're leaking just the minimum amount of air through that hiss. So I would love for you guys to try that. First try 15 seconds, then try 30 seconds, then try 45 seconds. The next phase of attaching your breath to your voice is to then add tone. And I talked about this in the first video, but let me give you a couple more ways to do that. I love a simple lip trill. If you have trouble doing that, you can try a hum. But I do prefer the lip trill because it gives a nice, again, kind of dynamic exchange between the breath and the voice. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm still thinking about breath. I think a lot of us micromanage our throats and heads and voices a lot when we warm up, but the truth is, how hard is it to go like this? Not very hard, right? Great. So you can devote your mental energy to thinking about your breath still, especially at the early stages of warming up. Just keep thinking about it. Just keep checking in. So I'm doing a simple 1-5-1 pattern, okay? So the next thing you can do is check in. See how well you can control the breath exhale while you add that small tone to it. And what I do is kind of like, it's called like a lip trill check. I'll go like this. And the whole time I'm thinking about my breath. And I'm feeling that elevator shaft, same thing. But that pattern, 1-5-1-8, you can repeat as many times as you want to sort of test yourself. See how you're doing. Same with the hisses. You kind of try to add seconds every time. With that, try to increase it every time you do it. So maybe the first day you can do 5. Maybe a couple days later you can do 6. Then maybe, I would say if you can get up to 8 to 10, even 11, then you're in pretty good shape. The final exercise I'm really excited to share with you. It's my favorite exercise and it's super simple. And it is, think of it as, again, progressing. It's applying breath to now a slightly more expressed tone. And it's just going to be a simple ah. Now, in my first video, I talked about having specific reasons and goals. When you do this ah warm-up, I want your goal to be breath to your face as relaxed as possible. So we're adding one more goal to kind of breath activation, which is chilling out your face and singing in an ah and not even worrying about how it sounds. If you do this ah exercise a couple times through every day, you're gonna find that your voice and your body is just really connected to your breath. And it's really simple. It's just gonna be a the whole time I'm still thinking about that elevator. Right? And it's really important that you're open for this. It's not rocket science, it's just ah. I'm pointing to my face because I want to remind you that you're now threading your sound, your breath, thinking about it, but trying as best you can to relax your face and keep it open. Now you basically, I would continue this up to the middle part of your upper range. So you will go through your break, and as you go through your break, as you find that your voice maybe is you're going into registers or places that are not necessarily as easy as before, don't give up on the breath. That's the main point of this ah exercise. You just want to stay open, relaxed, and think about your breath no matter what. So if you start to crackle, say you're in your break, it's okay. Don't think about that. Don't think about the fact that you're crackling. Remember the goal. The goal is breath. Breath to face. So just try it again. And relax it. You might find that when you think about breath, you can chill out more. The goal is just breath to open. So who cares if you crackle? Who cares if it's not perfect? Just don't react and tense. Remember the why. The why is that you're activating your breath and you're applying it to your sound. So try it again. Who cares if you sound weird? Who cares if you sound like a foghorn? Sometimes I call this the foghorn exercise because you're just basically open and then basically expressing breath. So as I get higher, I'm basically allowing the sound to keep popping up. Keep going. And then you would bring it down. Now, certainly your mind's gonna wander. It's gonna go from the breath. It's gonna then be like, okay, where is this? So the sound's in my face, and that's okay. I try as best I can when I assign warm-ups to build on them incrementally. So what the ah does is it introduces an open vowel, which is different from the or a humming. So it adds a host of questions. It's like, okay, where do I aim the sound? And that's what we're going to kind of address in the upcoming warm-up videos is, okay, now that you have breath, now that you have openness, how do you know where to aim the sound? And there are specific things you can do. But try as best as you can to delay the specificity of that, if that makes sense. Like, delay the micromanaging as best you can. Just start out your warm-ups with breath. Connect the breath to your voice and move to an open, non-judgmental ah feeling where your goal is to open your face. And that's a really, really powerful way to start and possibly complete your warm-ups. If you every day work on breath and a steady open ah, and you start to get to know the feeling of being relaxed and breathing and singing and really singing on the breath, then that's pretty great. So then, we're gonna now address, how do we carve into that? How do we start to aim it? What do you do when you sit down and you're like, okay, I've got my breath activated, I'm open into an ah, now what? So thank you so much for checking out this video in this series of vocal warm-up videos on my YouTube channel. And definitely click the link below to sign up to get some audio downloads of the warm-ups that I am showing you in these videos so you can sort of create your own sequence and take it home with you so you can practice. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.